Welcome to the Wrong Words podcast, where we challenge conventional thinkers and explore the depths of language. Hosted by Oliver and Luvon, this podcast is more than a conversation. It's a community, a space for like-minded, contemporary, and unconventional thinkers to gather, question, and grow together. We believe words are powerful. They shape our emotions, define our thoughts, and convey our deepest love. But here's the question. Are we using them correctly? Or have words become a mask, concealing unresolved trauma and filling voids that they were never meant to satisfy? What if we've been misusing them all along? On this journey, we'll dig deeper into the meaning of the words we speak, asking if we even need them at all to express our truths. If you're ready to explore language like never before and to uncover how the wrong words can impact everything from relationships to self-perception, then you've come to the right place. Let's redefine the way we communicate together. You're listening to the Wrong Words podcast.
What's up, family? Wrong Words family. We back again, man. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing all right, my friend.
Listen, so those last episodes, so we split the word love into 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And for those of you listening now, let me just say this before I say what I'm going to say. If you have not listened to those, pause this and go back. And then come back to this one. And you'll understand why when you hear what today's word is. But man, those episodes were powerful.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is, and I know we were talking about this, I took some things away from that conversation that were new to me.
Yeah.
And that's after living 50-something odd years, being married for 20-something odd years, and still took something away from that conversation that made me think, yeah, I might have to make some adjustments on how I've been using it.
Yeah, reading became real fundamental.
Real fundamental. Listen, if this is your first time hearing us or being introduced to us, this is the Wrong Words podcast. I am Oliver Marcelle, and I got my guy right here next to me, Luvon Dungee. One of the greatest individuals in the world, and you'll come to know that the more you get to know him. But listen, man, let me know what's on your heart before we get into this word today.
Doc, there's so much that, I think that's a good word, heart. How many pieces can you sort of share? But I think in my selfishness, I think, how many pieces can I keep?
I think that's the human nature in us, though.
I mean, but we touched on it when we talked about love. I mean, it's like, wait. Is that many pieces of my heart that I've either engaged in, either shared, and didn't know I was doing it? That was crazy, Doc.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna ever have a word like that. Psych.
Well, yeah, I'm about to say, man, and listen, for those of you who are either watching, and if you're listening to the audio version, let me just put this plug in as well. Make sure you go over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. You can see us talking about this in person. But listen, I was looking through the list because we put together a list of words that we want to tackle. And man, there's some doozies coming up.
Yeah. But I think we also want the community to share words.
Indeed.
Because we all have, ideas about how we've used them in the past, didn't know, the full power of them. And then we were looking at our friends, our partners, our family, like, well, wait a minute, I didn't mean that.
Right.
And I know that we've all said that. I mean, including myself, like, that's not what I meant. And the constant retort is, but that's what you said.
That's what you said. Right. Which is why I believe these conversations are so important, because now we get a chance to really dissect the words that we're using.
Correct.
understand identify whether we are using them incorrectly, understand how we can use them correctly,
Mm-hmm.
and then go forth and execute in a way that allows us to have more meaningful, more impactful conversations. And here's the other side of that.
Uh-huh.
Or this education will cause us to recognize that there are certain things we should not be saying at all.
Correct. And that's the thought that I had as you were making that. A lot of times we don't have to say
Mm-hmm.
a lot.
Yeah.
Because our actions and our movements are words.
Right.
And, you've walked up to somebody and say, man, look like you're having a bad day. They never said that.
Mm-hmm.
Or you see somebody rejoice. Man, you happy. What happened? They never said that they were happy.
Yeah.
So words begin to sort of create a context that it's not even where I'm at for real.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy, Doc. The moment I engage or the moment I have these relationships, I always say that my intent always has to be better than my words.
Okay.
I was told a long time ago that you should leave people better than how you found them.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm using the wrong words, I can push them backwards.
Every time. Every time.
And I'm learning that through this podcast that, I don't know, the scripture was on to something. The tongue is a two-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! I'm understanding what that really meant.
Yeah.
I mean, the moment we can uplift, the moment we could tear down. I mean,
Yeah.
and it happens like that, Doc.
It does. Life and death is in the power of the tongue, man.
Whew.
Yeah. Yeah. And so these conversations are important. So
Yes.
for those of you who are listening or who are watching us on YouTube, listen, we want you to be involved in this. This is a community effort. This is not us coming to you as experts saying, thou shalt do this or say this. This is us coming to you with conversation that hopefully causes you to think and causes you to reevaluate. And then we want to hear your feedback.
Because we want to think.
Because we want to think.
And reevaluate.
Indeed.
Because, Doc, I'm telling like I told you, and I'm telling the audience, I'm learning while learning.
Exactly. Exactly. We are learning.
Good
and
God.
today is going to be another one of those days, man. This episode is going to be
So
another one of
wait.
those.
Don't tell them what it is yet.
Okay.
So last week, you said it was what? What word did we use?
Love.
Can we have a moment of silence for love?
Can we have a moment of silence?
Because there's this resurgence of this word that we're going to use.
Yes.
And this word is probably more prevalent than any other word that we use or don't use, but place people in these categories.
And what's crazy is this word we're going to talk about today, the activity associated with this word is often misconstrued for love.
Correct, Doc. That's very, very powerful because this word, I mean, it's almost as if as humans, we took eraser and erased love and replaced it with this word. Because inside of this word, you create spaces where you act in love, you provide like love, you protect like love. But at the end of it, I say, I'm only
a friend. We're talking about friendship today, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, and here's the other side of that coin, right? The other side of that coin is you have people who have actually bypassed this.
Yes.
To jump to love.
Yes.
Right? So they've leapfrogged this and gone into what they thought was love, only to recognize that because this was missing, that was unhealthy.
Yes. So unhealthy from my vantage point don't mean fail, just unhealthy.
Exactly.
There's always a course correct. And I'm learning that even about myself.
Yeah.
I have to course correct a lot. I have to apologize a lot. I have to be accountable. I have to own. I can't make an excuse. I can't point finger. Hell, I can't do a lot of the things that I thought I could do, especially after this podcast, Doc, with learning the words
Yep.
and the intentionality that I must use them in.
Yeah.
Because what is it? Once you know, then you're accountable for.
Exactly. Once you know, you got to do.
That's.
Once you know, you got to do. So listen, let's jump into this. So as we do, we're going to go through the definitions. We have 3 definitions. And we're going to talk through what those are. The dictionary.com definition of friendship is the state of being a friend. Association as friends. And
That's loose as hell, ain't it?
It is. And which begs now the definition of what the word friend is.
Right.
Which I will look at in just a second. Merriam-Webster defines it as the state of being friends, the quality or state of being friendly. Again.
Loose as hell.
Again, yeah. Oxford English definition is a relationship between friends or the feeling of being friends. So let's do this real quick. Let's add something to it. Let's add the definition of the word friend. All right. So if we're going to add the definition of the word friend, the definition of the word friend is a person whom one knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection, typically exclusive of sexual or family relations.
Okay.
That's interesting. Let me say that one more time. A person whom one knows.
All right, so let's stop right there for a second. Because, let's break this down. Because the first 3 definitions just use the word repetitively, and I didn't understand
exactly
none of that.
Right.
But a person one knows.
Okay.
That's interesting just in that little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because inside of our friendships, one of the terms we use, damn, I didn't know you would do that.
True. That's true.
Oh, damn, I didn't know you were like that.
Right. I was watching the comedian and he was saying that this is a African-American phrase that everybody would know. And it's like that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So listen, I know him, but I don't know him like that.
Right. So we're defining our levels of friendship now,
right.
Which is real crazy, Doc.
Yeah.
It's like turn it on 1, that level friend. Like, I know his brother.
Right, exactly.
That's about it.
Right. So somebody that you know, all right? So that's 1. Somebody with whom one has a bond of mutual affection.
Okay.
And I know often when we hear the word affection, we think something romantic, but affection in terms of, for example, you and somebody else, you love golf.
Right.
Right. So now you have this mutual affection.
For a thing.
Right.
Yeah. So affection from my vantage point, and I always just try to go just a tad bit deeper. I mean, trust.
Mm-hmm.
Respect.
Which, by the way, for those of you, we want you to subscribe because these words are going to come up later on.
They are.
Affection, trust, respect. Those are going to be words that are broken down as well in episodes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, all right. So a person who someone knows, a person with whom someone has a bond of mutual affection. Now, here's the thing. Typically exclusive of sexual or family relations. So this is somebody that you're not romantically involved with, and somebody who might not be a family member.
Right. So here's what's real crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And we often say this a lot. My friends are my family.
We do say that a lot.
You know what I mean?
We do say that a lot.
I have a stronger bond with my best friend than I do with my brother.
Mm. So here's what's interesting, and this is not the scriptural reference. We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but there is a scripture that says a friend sticketh closer than a brother.
Absolutely. That's crazy, Doc.
Okay.
Because a friend only has the right noun data. to go off of.
Okay.
It doesn't have the historical data when you were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A lot of times friends mature together.
Okay.
A lot of times people meet and they bump into each other as adults and become friends.
Right.
Now, I did a study on that. It's less likely for adults to foster friends than it is for preteens and kids.
Okay.
Adults are set in their ways. They're set in their travel, their careers, they're learned. If we don't have that level of compatibility, it's hard for us to really be friends.
Okay.
Unless there is an outside activity, fishing, golfing, boating, swimming. We are friends in that space alone.
Okay.
I swim with Joe. Won't you have Joe come over to dinner? I don't really know him like that. We just swim together.
Yeah, true. So we compartmentalize.
Yes. And as adults, we do that well. It's just like, I'm married. No, I'm not saying that I'm married. As a married man, you ain't inviting your single homeboy that's your friend to a thing with you and your wife or to a couples event.
Got you. Yep, true.
But he my homeboy. He is my friend.
Right.
I even got to compartmentalize that.
Even in the space where you may have some level of mutual affection, you still would have to compartmentalize.
Correct.
Interesting.
Like, I love my sister to death, but I can't take her there.
And that's said often.
All the time, Doc.
So here's what's interesting, right? Excuse me. Here's what's interesting. What would you say that in terms of, when you say that in terms of compartmentalizing? When we look at the origins of these words, right? I think the origins even also help us compartmentalize.
They do. They do.
Right? Because the Old English version is, I'm going to spell it, FREONDSCIPE. So Freoned Skype, something like that. But that is, the Old English origin is from a word that means friendship and mutual love. That's broad.
It is, but let me tell you, because you're going to read a couple of things here, and it's like it's one word that keep popping up.
Okay, what's that?
Love.
Love does pop up in this, yes, as well.
And we talked about that last week, so it means that friendship and love are got to be some type of kindred relationship.
They're intertwined.
Have to be.
Yeah, they're intertwined.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just had that thought.
No, you're good, because that's the next one, right? Or Proto-Germanic origin word is Frisiond, I think is how you say that, Frijond. But that word means one who loves,
comma,
friend.
right.
Yeah.
So
there's that word again.
So wait. It's almost as if this Proto-Germanic version is talking about yourself. One who loves.
Okay. Yes, I see that.
So it's as if I have to first be a friend to myself. Because I can't treat nobody kind and good and love them if I don't do none of that for me.
And we talked about that in the love episode.
We did. So it seemed, again, they bumping into each other.
Yeah. Okay. So I like that too. So that's more about who we are individually as people, not necessarily what we exhibit.
Correct.
The Proto-Germanic version of that.
Because those are two different things, Doc.
Those are two different things.
In this Proto-Germanic, it's as if we can't hide no more.
Either we are or we aren't.
Correct. That's kind of sort of where it is.
Okay. So interestingly enough, then, the Hebrew Greek Aramaic word, R-E-U-T, friendship comes from that word, which means Actually, you know what? Let me go back.
No, go back. Keep going. We could go to the next.
You want to do that one?
Yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
the reason why I want to go back is because based on what you said with the Proto-Germanic one,
Mm-hmm.
if that is who we are, then the Indo-European root word, PRI, is who we are. Because that means to love, care.
Correct.
So now we go from the who we are as people to what we exhibit as people.
Correct.
As it relates to friendship. Which is interesting before we keep going.
Are we really going to talk about this today?
Yeah, that's because like the wheels are turning even more than they were when I first read this. So again, this wasn't a scriptural reference. But there is also a scripture that says he who has friends must first show himself friendly.
That's exactly.
Which means it's got to be you first.
It got to be that, Doc. It got to be. So I know that everybody thought that we were talking about something outside of us.
Mm-hmm.
As we dig deeper, we even are beginning to realize that friendship is an inward thing. It's not a mama, daddy, brother, close friend, homeboy person that I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
It's an inward thing. How friendly am I to me? How much care do I give myself? Because I was told this, Doc, and this is going to sound interesting. You give people a right to treat you a certain way based on how you treat yourself.
Yes. 1,000%. 1,000%, bro. That's true. Wow. And listen, when you recognize that, you really got to do some introspective thought around how you're treating yourself.
Yes.
And you got to compare that to the treatment that you're getting.
Yes.
And if you don't like the treatment you're getting, the answer is not in confronting the treatment you're getting.
No.
The answer is in looking in the mirror.
So I went to a program, one of these healthy 12-step programs.
Mm-hmm.
And they say everything begins and ends with you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to be treated kindly, I got to first be kind.
Yeah.
To me.
Mm-hmm.
Not to you, but to me.
To you, yeah.
If I want a smile from you, I first have to learn how to smile.
Mm-hmm.
God.
So listen, this
It's
friendship
way too
thing,
much, Doc.
and what's crazy, like I know I'm getting ahead of myself. We're gonna finish these other origins. What's crazy? We're talking about wrong words, and we're talking about how the words we sometimes use, we use them incorrectly.
Yes.
Think about this culture, this social media culture, and going on Facebook or one of these other social media sites and sending friend requests.
Right.
So now if I look at my social media profile, if I take Facebook, for example, I have 4,000 friends on Facebook.
Isn't that something?
You see how crazy, how
the word is used wrong.
How incorrectly we use that word.
Right.
Based on what we're looking at here and based on friendship begins with me.
Right.
And it's interesting how many people now from a mental and a psychological standpoint hang their hat on the amount of social media friends they have in conjunction with the level of friendships they have.
Correct. But then it gets a little sketchy in there too, because the puncher or the fighter says, well, you know what I mean? They ain't really my friends. They my associate.
Which is another word we probably need to tackle.
Because you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We know that we're using the wrong word.
We do. And this, if we're looking at definition and these word origins, it is, if we put this up against the friendships, again, I'm doing that in air quotes for those of you who are on the audio version. If you put that up against the friendships you have, you may recognize that what you have is not really friendship.
Yes.
One, if it's not starting with you, right? Two, if it's not something that is mutual,
Right.
right? Three, if it's not someone who loves or someone who cares. We didn't even get to the Greek, Hebrew, Greek, Aramaic one, right?
But I think there's another component that you're missing inside of what friendship is. It's the same as love.
Mhm.
If it's not active,
Okay. Yeah,
because care is an active agent.
it is.
We're not talking about self-care, skin care. We ain't talking about taking a shower, taking a bath. We're not talking about how you dress, how you care for your outward. We're not talking about that.
Right.
I think this Indo-European root
Mhm.
and this proto-Germanic is talking about something that's so inside of us, like that inundated thing that we just don't want to deal with all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Hence why you said the social media platforms.
Yeah.
We don't want to deal with being by ourselves to get to understand ourselves. We don't want to deal with identifying the village that feeds our spirit, but we can reciprocate and feed their spirit. We don't want to not laugh at funny jokes. We don't want to not go along to get along because we are afraid to first be a friend to ourselves. And it seems like this friendship space, man, it lends itself to an air of honesty
Yes.
that I'm not certain we are willing to be.
Right. I agree with that. It's very surface level. What we call friendship is very surface level.
Especially that's what I did.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. It doesn't really fall into these categories that we're talking about when we look at these root words. So the Hebrew word, RE''UT, means close companionship or loyalty. Again, two words we're going to have to unpack at another time, companionship and loyalty. How many of your friends are loyal? How many of your friends are companions?
So I'm going to play God's advocate for a second.
Okay.
Because I believe this is how the human brain works. When I say loyal, the very first thing that pops to my head, loyal to what?
Okay. As a friend, is there anything that you are required to be loyal to?
Yes. And that I think that's the broader stroke of the thing.
Okay.
If we were to go back to self-loyalty, every New Year's Day, we make this declaration that I'm going to go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
You told me something about what they have identified a day for people that don't make it.
Quitter's Day. 10 days in.
10 days into the gym.
10 days in. Yep.
I can't even be loyal to myself.
Can't even be loyal to yourself. So now, if friendship requires companionship and loyalty, and you can't be loyal to yourself, you cannot expect, going back to people, you giving license to people to treat you how you treat yourself, you cannot expect someone to be loyal to you.
Yes, you cannot.
Which calls friendship into question.
Yes. Yes.
And I know, and listen, for those of you who are listening, again, we're having a conversation. So we're not saying this is right. We're not saying this is wrong. We want to hear what you have to say. This is us kind of unpacking this thing as we go along.
Yes.
The Greek word, which is very close to a type of love.
Wow.
The Greek word is philia.
Wow.
And there's a type of love, I believe, that's called philia, which is deep friendship and brotherly love.
I just think this word is a hard one, Doc. It's hard.
After seeing all this.
Yeah, this is hard.
Let me tell you what I'm realizing after seeing all this. I didn't make it that deep.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever been in any of this.
I didn't make it that deep. And I'm also thinking on the fly right now, who are the people in my life that fit into these categories.
Yeah,
Because if you think about it, a lot of the folk we know, based off of just the short conversation we've had so far, are people we know.
that's it.
And it doesn't go no further than that.
Yeah, because it seems like this friendship, the way that I have expressed it in my life, was tied to a motive.
Okay. I think that's often the case.
Yeah, because I'm only could talk about me.
Yeah.
If I lent you $5 and you paid it back, boy, that's my homeboy.
Right. So we're not really experiencing mutual affection as much as we are seeking mutual benefit.
Right. There's a condition.
Jeez.
No, I'm talking about based on the roots of this stuff. There is a reason why I can go out with such and such. And we can list them. I know they know how to act. I know they know how to behave. I know that she's going to pick me up. I know they're going to drop me off. I know that there's a designated driver. And because I know all of these things, that's my friend.
Man, talk about the wrong use of a word. That's crazy.
And what's real crazy, Doc, is I didn't think about any of this until we sat here and started talking about it.
Me too. And I think that's going to be, I think for us, man, I think that's going to be the case for a lot of these words, man, as we kind of go through this. And this is going to be the typical format. We're going to talk through some definitions and look at the root words and look at some scriptural references and some other things. And then when we get down to the types of friendships, which we can move in that direction in just a second, that's really going to open some eyes. But let me do this last one, and then we'll keep going. So the Aramaic root word means study partnership, which I think these are two ends of the spectrum. Means study partnership and close relationship.
Right.
So it's almost like now you should be able to merge the professional, I'm using that in air quotes, professional side of your friendship with the personal side of your friendship.
Okay.
Which we are often taught not to do.
Correct.
Like if you think about, when you're in the corporate space, your work friends only go so far. Man, I'll never forget when I was on the team that I was on before I left the corporate environment. The person I reported to, she and I had a wonderful relationship. We would go out to lunch. We talk about all kind of stuff, have all these kinds of conversations. And I remember she was leaving the corporate environment the same year I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I will never forget her saying this to me. She was like, once I leave here, there's no need for me to be friends with nobody. Like she was like, she was like, I probably won't be following too many people on social media. There's typically no real reason for me to connect with anybody outside of this space once I'm not a part of this space. And for me, I kind of, if I'm being honest, let's keep it a buck. I kind of felt some kind of way about that because I'm like, okay, so what does that mean all this was then? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I couldn't disconnect the two.
Right.
Because I mean, like we weren't like, hey, how you doing type people. Like, I mean, I'd be in her office sometimes for like 2 hours talking.
Right.
We'd be at lunch somewhere. One time we went to a game one time. So I'm like, okay, so how do you just turn that off? Like how does that switch? I was really baffled by that when I left the corporate space. Like I couldn't understand it.
It's interesting. It's as if you were in her office, but not in her space.
Right.
Yeah. That's probably why the planets don't crash into each other.
And here's the thing, that also now is a great example of us using the word friendship wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, and I'm not questioning whether she was my friend or not, but I'm saying it as I'm posing it as a question. Were we really friends?
Okay.
And that was the question that I was asking myself, like, okay, because here's the thing, right? I really tried to keep up with a good amount of folk.
Okay.
When I left the corporate space. There is one guy in particular that I still kind of keep up with. But for the most part, like, corporate environment is interesting, man. Like, once you're gone, you've forgotten.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have any experience.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So it's hard for me
that's right. It's not a space. But yeah, I had to, and I'm thinking about that now. When I look at this, right? When I look at one who loves, to love, to care, close companionship, loyalty, friendship, brotherly love, close relationship. If I take all of that and look at my corporate experience, that's not what I was developing in my corporate experience, if I'm being very honest.
Okay.
So it should not have surprised me the way it did to hear her make a statement like that. Because based on what we're talking about right now and what we've read, that's not what I was developing.
Okay.
I think what we were developing was a working relationship. And you even got to be careful how you use that word.
Today you do.
I think that's what we were developing. Now, in my mind, I felt like maybe that was something that parlayed into something different, so that I would check in with you and, happy holidays, or we could jump into Peloton Club together, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's.
But you hear what you're saying though, Doc.
Mm-hmm.
I think every layer, as you still speak, there was still a condition. It's all
Right.
conditional.
Mm-hmm.
She was my supervisor. That's the first condition.
Mm-hmm.
So from a supervisor standpoint, got to keep a firewall. From being at work or in a corporate, there has to be these partitions of firewalls.
Mm-hmm.
Friendship is only as good as the tasks we complete together.
Wow. Unpack that for a second.
That's the condition.
Deep statement.
Yeah, that's the condition.
Okay.
If you and I can run a race together,
mm-hmm.
inside of that race, I will mutually respect your weakness, your strengths, your help, your cheerleader, your camp champion, your trainer. But if any of that falters,
mm-hmm.
there's a value that you had that I now got to replace. Because I'm still running the race.
Okay.
That's what saddens us a lot of times when we have to walk away from friendships. Because there's a condition that I have to go out and seek somewhere else.
Interesting.
It ain't that we hear this. Oh boy, that's my homeboy. I cannot talk to him for 2 or 3 years, and
mm-hmm.
we could just pick up right as we did blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
You know how that goes.
Yep.
This ain't what this says. Friendship says a mutual thing. Just because I don't talk to you in a year, were we friends? Or were we just two people that were familiar? Because when I talk to you, I'm not checking on your health, your well-being, because my friend would do that more regularly. I'm talking to you about a football game. I'm talking to you about, damn, did you see the new golf club? I'm talking to you, boy, those new Jordans just dropped. The condition which has me call.
So, all right. So, all right. So we got to turn a corner into how to use this. But you know what? Let me be honest, man. This conversation is really like, I'm really sitting here asking myself the question, how many friends do I have?
Yeah. That's a good question.
Like, and not in a positive way. I mean, I'm like, there may be some incredible lack in that area.
That's a good thing. That's a thing to be aware of, Doc.
Wow.
I heard this this one guy say, make a list of things that you think you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
He said most people, and he said make it 20. He said most people can't get past 12.
Interesting. Hey, listen, those of you who are listening, that do try that and let us know what happens.
Yeah, can we list 20 friends?
Yeah. That's a good thing. Let us know if you can get to 20 friends. I'm gonna be honest, based on just this conversation and what this conversation is conjuring in me in terms of my thought process, I would not get to 20.
Me either, Doc. I cannot. I would jokingly say I've never had a birthday party because who would I invite? I don't have those many friends. I know a lot of people.
There you go. You said it. You just said it. That's what it is. I know a lot of people.
Yes.
And the first part of that definition of the word friend is a person who you know.
Yep.
That's just so to speak to me using the word incorrectly, I have taken a fraction of what the holistic experience should be, and I have latched on to that fraction and called it the entire thing.
Okay. And I say, here's a true test. Tell people that you cooking something tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
and you only call your close friends,
Mm-hmm.
and see how many people show up. Do an event.
Mm-hmm.
See how many tickets you sell.
Mm-hmm.
See how many friends you have to help you sell tickets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the damn Evite says it all the time. +1, because the +1 is the thing that fills the room.
Mm-hmm.
The +1 ain't nobody I know.
Right. Ah, brother. All right.
This is a tough one, Doc.
This is a tough one, man. Where you want to go from here?
Proverbs 17:17.
All right.
A friend loves at all times.
That's what you just talked about.
Wait.
That's what you just talked about that. You just, and here's the thing, man, that's crazy what you said. I just heard somebody say this the other day, what you just said, that, man, I got this guy, man, and listen, we could be out of contact for 2 years. And but when we get together, it's just like we always were, which is 100% contrary to what you just read.
There we go. But that's my homeboy. That's my ride or die. He can always depend on me. I'll always be there for him.
Yeah, except for them 2 years, though.
Yeah, but I only talk to him like once a year.
Right. Oh, man. Yeah, this is punching me in the chest.
The second part of that statement is from Proverbs 17:17 is, a brother is born for a time of adversity. Do you hear that, Doc?
So you signing up for
the rest of your life.
Yeah. And not just when we think if you go back to the mutual affection piece, and not just the stuff we like.
No. It's all of it. Boy, you know what? You hear this all the time. Man, you know what? I started dating this girl. Me and her was getting really good along. We were friendly, man. She becomes my best friend. And then I met her kids. I had to leave her alone.
Yeah.
You wasn't her friend.
You wasn't her friend.
No.
Because you weren't born for a time of adversity.
Right, Doc. Adversity is a daily thing, Doc.
It is. It is.
I mean, I think there's a scripture reference. I have to be born daily.
Mm.
So I got to fight through to get through. And if you don't have the right village, you ain't going to make it all the time. So you'll use this word to attach it to associates.
Mm-hmm. To fill a void.
Yes, that's all. Now, let me say it another way, because I don't want people to believe that I'm a know-it-all. I believe the birth of this podcast for me, so let me put it in its proper perspective, just for Luvon, was to fill some lack that I possess.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not nobody else, but my personal lack.
Yeah.
With understanding the proper use of words.
Of words that we've used our whole lives.
Like, we fought over friends.
Right.
When you got divorced, I can't talk to them no more because that's my wife's friend.
Yeah.
At one point, we all were friends, but now that's my wife's friend. You hear how that sound?
Yeah.
Damn, I had to give her the dog because the dog was more friendlier with her.
Yeah. You got me thinking, man. And hopefully we have you all thinking as well. Because here, let me say this too. Let me give this disclaimer for those of you listening. What we're not telling you to do is after this episode, cut people off.
No.
Like, that ain't, listen, we're not going to get that advice from us.
Hell no. No, sirree.
What we do want you to do, though, is what we're doing, is just think some things through, man, and just kind of come up with what this means for you. Because I'm really looking at it. Now, I will say this. I've heard people say this, that people come into your
life for a season,
a reason and a season.
I don't understand.
What do you think about that as it relates to friendship?
I don't understand it.
Okay.
So it's almost as if I have the right to say. Now, again, to everybody that's listening, this is just a vantage point of me. Don't hold it to no level of value or any of that. It's as if that everything is predestined. Everything is orchestrated. If that's the truth, that voids my free will.
Okay.
So people could come into my life for a season that I would walk away from. I would delete. I don't have to participate. So my season can be 20 seconds. My seasons can be 20 years. But if we're using this word friend, everybody that I embrace, I'm embracing them from my friendship because it's the third neutral person inside of the relationship. It's me, the person, and then the neutrality of the friendship.
Okay.
And that third thing don't have a condition because the third thing don't talk, don't speak, don't feel. It just is.
Okay. So the people who come into, based on what you're saying, then the people who come into your life for a reason or a season, they cannot be considered friends. They can only be considered associates.
I think based on all of this, Doc, I guess the very first thing I'm saying is I'm not really certain if I've ever really been my own friend.
Whoa.
So yes, I do the manicuring, I do the skincare, I do the dress, I do the house, I wash the car, I cut the grass. It's like, wait a minute, what do I do inside of my lack, though, when I latch on to? So it's inside of my lack that I'm only sharing these thoughts. So somebody could have come into my life for a reason or a season, and I wasn't prepared because I wasn't.
That's a whole nother story. Yeah.
Right. So that's the only reason I'm making this statement. How often was I prepared to give and receive?
Yeah.
Not just give. Because based on everything we're talking about, mutual, love, trust, respect, they ain't say lonely. It ain't say self-deprecating. It ain't say by yourself.
Right.
It ain't say in the wilderness. It ain't say none of those things.
Yeah.
It didn't say longing. It said be what it is you want.
It's good stuff, man. Hey, listen, let's because man, we could probably talk so long. We could probably turn this into 10 episodes, man. But hopefully this gives you that are listening something to think about, because I don't know that in the time that we've been talking that we will give it enough time to put some level of cap on it.
Yeah.
But I do think that, listen, if it gets you to do what we're doing right now, which is to kind of look inward for a second and be like, whoa.
And start a conversation with
and
somebody
and
else.
Start a conversation, then that's what it is. But listen, do this, Lou. There are a bunch of different types of friends. And as I kind of look through this list, I kind of recognize maybe why I had that moment of surprise, if you will, when I left the corporate space.
Okay.
Because there are different types of friends.
What type are you talking about? Drum roll, please.
So, if we're going off this list and I'm looking at my corporate experience, we're talking about work friends.
There we go.
And these are the friendships formed with colleagues, often based on shared work experiences and goals, and can be important for social support and camaraderie in the workplace.
And that's where it stops.
And that's where it stops. Yep. And I didn't understand that.
So that's a reason and a season, number one.
No, yep. And I didn't understand that at that point. I lumped that in with something completely different.
Right. Then there are close friends.
Mm-hmm.
These are your best friends who share deep, meaningful connection with, often develop from other types of friendships over time.
Mm-hmm.
So you hear all of that. There still is a condition inside of that.
Yeah.
Because they develop it on something. There's a premise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if the premise is a principle. It's still a premise.
Yeah.
Honesty, goodness, great fellowship, spirituality is as a premise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Then there are lifelong friends. These are friendships that span over considerable lengths of time, often starting in childhood or early adolescence and lasting into adulthood. That's interesting. I said that and didn't know that,
Mm-hmm.
that I read that.
Mm-hmm.
Remember I said it's harder for adults to have friends?
Yep.
But that's where lifelong friends start.
They start way back.
Way back.
Yep.
Casual friends. These are friendships based on shared interests, activities, or situations, offering companionship or camaraderie, but without the depths of a close friend. That's I know him, but I really don't know him.
Yeah, I don't know him like that.
Yeah, he's that person.
Right.
Then there are group friends. These are friendships with a casual social group or club, offering a sense of belonging and shared experience.
Okay.
Childhood friends. These are friendships that start in childhood, often involving shared experiences and memories, and can be a source of comfort and nostalgia. Now, I understand this one.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
Utility friends. These friends are based on mutual benefit or sharing goals and may be more transactional in nature. I want to say something, but I can't.
No, say it, man, because we run across a lot of these. Like a lot of the friendships that we deem close companionships really fall under this category.
Utility.
Yep.
And that's what I said. This is the most conditional way to be a friend.
Yep.
That's just where we are in our imperfect state, Doc.
Yeah. Yeah. What's in it for me?
And then there's this other thing, convenient friendships. These are friends formed due to proximity or shared activities such as neighbors or friends from a hobby group.
Okay.
Acquaintances. These are people you know, but haven't developed a close relationship with, often share a common context or interest.
Mm-hmm.
And then last but not least, these are the ones that we know all too familiar. Intimate friendships. These are very close. They are very closest friends characterized by a deep level of trust, vulnerability, and shared experience. Now, This last one,
Mhm.
we experience this, but we use these same words in our conversation.
Mm.
I'm going to tell you something, I'm being vulnerable right now.
Mhm.
I'm trying to define that we should have this intimate space.
Right.
Or, I'm going to tell you something. Don't tell nobody. I want to be able to trust you. So we're trying to develop this intimacy.
We're trying to push ourselves into that
Right.
level.
Instead of just it being it.
And often, in order to get to this level of friendship, you have to navigate the other spaces.
Yes.
And we often don't do that.
Correct.
Which is why many people leapfrog friendship into what they believe is love.
Correct.
And they miss the foundational pieces.
That's why we use the words that we use. Man, I want to trust you when I tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
You telling me what type of friend we are by just saying that.
Right.
Man,
or where you want us to be.
Yeah. Well, damn, I'm being real vulnerable right now.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask this question, Doc. As we talk about this, can friendship be one-sided?
So I guess technically it could be, but to get the best result, it should not be.
Okay.
And then then the next question is how long, and this is probably a question for another conversation, but how long is that sustainable? Like I can be loyal to this person and be a companion to this person and be a source of trust for this person, and the list goes on and on and on, and that not be reciprocated to me. How that is that sustainable long term? Like, will I ever get tired of that?
So it's interesting that you say it the way that you said it.
Mm-hmm.
Not be reciprocated to me. I'm only being that to try to feel it for myself. Because I'm not doing it for myself.
Is there an opportunity to, in a very pure way, provide that for someone and not ever need it back?
We're not designed like that.
Okay.
Everything is conditional.
Okay.
I mean, I think we talked about it with love. The only non-conditional, and this is Luvon talking again, that I've ever experienced is a mother's love for a child.
Okay.
I think as humans, we think, or we know, let me say it another way. We know that at the root of all of us, we all are good.
Mm-hmm.
We really are. I think with the advent of social media, TV, radio, jobs, careers, all the list, we begin to create pockets and conditions on each pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that those pockets have us fall short a lot of times. I took a program a couple years ago called the Landmark Forum.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things she talked about was, as an adult, we have to be fathers, sons, brothers, lovers, work people, professionals, savers, lawyers. We have to be all of those things. I think when I think about this word friend, I think based on what she said was, instead of being all of those things, what if we just was our word?
Mm.
Because if I'm my word, I'm automatically all these things.
Right.
And if we measure our friendships based on their word, they probably wouldn't be our friend.
Interesting.
It would be easier to remove yourself if loyalty was one. I'm loyal to me.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't be loyal to the third person, I can't.
Mm.
If I'm honest with myself, if you can't be honest to the third thing, I can't.
So I think that goes full circle then, which is actually a nice place to land the plane. I think that takes us full circle to back to the beginning when we're talking about that. This actually starts with us.
Yes.
And so we really got to look at Are we loyal to ourselves?
Yes.
Do we love ourselves? And then are the friendships that we have fostered, is it only about being mutually beneficial, or is it about creating a level of companionship that allows you to walk through all of these levels that we've talked about to get to a space where it's lifelong and intimate and consistent and intentional?
So I would sum this thing up. Imagine going to a restaurant. There's a cook, there's a manager, there's a chef, there's a whole bunch of things.
Mhm.
But the one person that you see over and over and over and over again is the servant.
Mhm.
If we could put ourselves in that posture to constantly be the servant, serving ourselves first,
Mhm.
but then having the ability to serve others, at the end of the meal, we leave them the tip, not because it was cooked well, but because the service was great. So when I think of friendship, there's a whole lot of back office, cooking, preparation, dishwashing, floor sweeping, product stocking
Mhm.
in order for it to be served.
Mhm.
So looking inside, all of my insides got to be right so that I could serve somebody.
Mhm. So we got to take some friendship inventory.
Is my stock right?
Yeah.
Am I able to be a servant? Because can't nobody really wrong me, Dad. They can't.
Hmm.
I mean, can't nobody wrong me. Well, he said so. He called me out of my name. Okay. If I know that it's not my name,
Mhm.
then it ain't just my name.
That's good, man. And I mean, if we're looking at it from a scriptural standpoint, and he who has friends must show himself friendly, that speaks to the level of preparation that you're talking about.
Yes.
Because in order for me to walk this out in its most effective way, I can't do it without me first being prepared to do so.
Correct. And I think that's the thing about, man, this is crazy, Oliver, that we doing this, man. This wrong word thing is crazy, Doc.
Yeah, this is
It's like these light bulbs go off. And first, let me apologize to the audience, man, because I've probably, inside of this segment, used wrong words. That's why we have to keep doing it over and over and over so that I get better with my communication, so that I understand the intentionality behind the words. Because a lot of y'all don't know me,
Mhm.
but only can judge me based on what I say.
Right. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are watching YouTube or listening to the Audio Podcast, we really hope that this has been insightful for you, and that it causes you to really do some introspective thought. Listen, every word that we bring to you in an episode, that is the goal. The goal is to share some things, to give you an opportunity to hear myself and Luvon have a conversation about it, to actually hear our aha moments, because I believe there's going to be one in every episode.
Yes, sir.
And to ultimately have you as our community engage in that level of conversation and thought as well. So listen, this word is friendship. We want you to subscribe. We want you to share this. We want you to share your thoughts. You can head over to YouTube or to TikTok and share your thoughts on some of the clips that you may see there of the episodes. And we look forward to having you on this journey with us as we unpack these words. So, any last words?
No, let's not do a word this heavy no more.
Man, this one is heavy.
Good God.
And I did not realize it would be that way.
These,
I did not realize that there would be so much that would come out of it, man. But this is awesome, man. So listen, you all enjoy this, share this with somebody else, and stay connected with us so that you can be aware of when we drop another episode. All right. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Thank you for joining us on the Wrong Words podcast. We're so glad you took the time to listen, and we hope this episode gave you something to think about, question, and explore. If you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. We'd also love for you to rate and review the show. Your feedback helps us reach more people with these important discussions. And don't keep it to yourself. Share this podcast with someone who might find it helpful or inspiring. Be sure to subscribe to the Wrong Words podcast on YouTube for more content, and follow us on social media to stay connected and to be a part of the community we're building. Until next time, God bless.